Hey, welcome Lee Vantage. Of course, you know what it's time for the Superman review. Um, I wasn't a big fan of the movie coming in to going to view it. Of course, I went to view it because my son wanted to, so I was not going to go view this at all. But I went and saw it. Honestly, I went in there with low expectations and hoping that those low expectations would be uplifted, meaning like, oh snap, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, um, and be pleasantly surprised. I like being pleasantly surprised when it comes to movies that I'm not anticipating much from. So I wasn't anticipating much from this, so I was pleasantly surprised that it was actually good, right? So that left me with the man, it was actually better than I thought. But, there's other sides of things, right? Because I thought it was also bad. So, and I never had that type of reaction where I thought a movie was actually good and bad at the same time. So it leaves you with the nah, you know what I mean? Nah, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? And I just thought it would be, and it's a good thing because I thought it would just be 1 out of 10. It gives you that 4, right? Like, oh, it was actually had some good parts to it, but it was still all in all not a good movie, and it could have been a better movie if these bad things didn't happen in the movie, right? Um, there was way too much, you know, I don't care about James Gunn. I don't care about Zack Snyder. M. Night Shyamalan's one of my favorite directors. So, some of the stuff that Zack does I like just as well as Gunn. So I'm not on that, heavy this way, heavy that way. But I just didn't never got with the whole input of all his personal stuff into a Superman movie. Superman's bigger than you. Stop putting your stuff in there. Stop putting your dog in there. Don't put the behavior of your dog in there, which really, I mean, it was overkill with how bad he was. And then when he needed to be bad at the one moment, it was really like deserving because he's the only one that could fight in the dang thing. It seemed like that was a good guy as far as Superman is concerned, because he put it on Lex. But other than that, it was just overkill with the bad dog thing. But they did show why he behaves badly. Uh, at the end, they show why his behavior is that way, which was that was a cool insight, and actually kind of funny, that. Whew. But anyways, this first half of this, I'll give you the overall my overall view of it, and then later in the second half of this, I'll do a spoiler. So I'll alert you on the spoilers. Um, Everything switched up too much. I think the scenes, it's like it literally looked like they set the stage for a scene, and then they just said action, and there was like nothing that really built up to it, but dialogue to tell you what was going on. If that makes sense. So there would be like, oh, let's say a cat appeared as a cat scene, and Superman is, and the cat's destroying the city, and the reporters are actually telling you what happened. If that makes sense. So a lot of that was going on where you were getting updated on what was going on through reports, and it didn't fit well. It was just like, and then the humor was excessive. It was not that it was bad. It was just not warranted at sometimes. Not that that's making it a bad movie. There's the things that made, in my opinion, that made it a bad movie. Most people won't even pick up on. Um, so what else? For the most part, the graphics was good. Um, they weren't awful. A couple of his flight scenes just looked ridiculous. It, but other ones were, for the most part, that was good. The too much whining. He was like almost like he was defensive. Lois dug into him pretty good on that interview that we all saw. She dug into him pretty good, but it was just too much. After that scene, I almost went to sleep because it was exhausting to hear them going back and forth over this stuff. And I dang near fell asleep in the movie. I almost dozed off. And I made sure I got enough sleep so I wouldn't doze off in the movie. Not that I do, anyways. I never go to sleep in movies, but this one almost made me doze off after that scene because it was just so. It was just over the top with the arguing that they were doing. And for what? And then come towards the end of the movie, you see it, and then you're like, this is idiotic. You know what I mean? It becomes idiotic. But, anyways, um, I'm really trying to focus because I don't want to give it away. So I'm really trying to prepare myself to explain this without telling you stuff because you actually need to have seen it to know what I'm actually getting at with some of the stuff. The scene here is a dead giveaway to what I'm talking about. That just jumped out of nowhere. Um, and I can tell you this much about this scene because it's actually something we've seen. It was nighttime before this happened. And literally, we open the scene and this is what's happening. He's coming under the catch. What you saw was what happened. And it was no, and then they filled you in as to why that thing is like that and everything. So now, I'm going to tell you this. You can see this in the picture. You notice, look around the whole scene. You see the tents open, the railing, the garbage can. You notice nothing's undisturbed. Mind you, this thing's almost 100 feet tall, it seems like. He's huge, over 100 feet tall, just huge. And nothing's disturbed. People aren't even running, they're just standing there. Look how big his foot is. Not even a pole is dislodged. This is bad. That's 1 foot. So where's his other foot? And mind you, you get to see his other foot and his whole body, and it's nothing knocked down. There's not even a garbage can turned over. I don't know if this was just being lazy or just thinking people will overlook it. And it's not a slight detail because they did pan out, and you can see the whole breadth of the whole landscape as far as the scenery. Not a building knocked down, nothing. And this thing is huge. And it's like, how did he not knock down anything? How did nothing get undisturbed? And they don't explain it. They just tell you he grew overnight, basically. This is one of them things, and this isn't the only thing that they done to where it just plopped you into something, and there was no effects of what was going on. I mean, this is the bad thing. This is what's bad, where it's like, what is going on? And we saw this clip because I could talk about this clip. This clip is out. He gets, of course, stepped down into the ground, and they do it on a tribute to Bugs Bunny, I guess, where they having him, go Bugs Bunny under the ground. This is something we saw. This is obviously was bad too, and it didn't get better after that. And it was just this whole scene was bad, which was a distraction. It was supposed to be a distraction. So I I struggled with this with stuff like this. I struggled because it was very noteworthy. Outside of just flaws in Superman's power, right? That was obvious. I think Corn Sweater. I think Gunn said he wouldn't be as strong, and he was absolutely. I mean, he got beat up the whole movie. It seemed like, what I mean. He was getting manhandled the whole movie. Let's just say that he got manhandled the whole movie, and it's and when in the spoiler, and I've seen reactors react to this, and they dress the reaction up. They get into the cinematography, they get into everything, right? Oh, they script it out because there's no way you can have it that dialed in. So they script it all out. They talk it, give you a really good what's good and what's not, the director's takes and everything, right? But then, and when they do to go to the spoil, no one mentions one thing that was just awful about this and what made the movie awful. And it's something you could forget, but it's absolutely nuts what was going on. And this is what ruined This is probably what ruined the movie more than anything for me. What made it really bad is because of this stupid stuff they put in. That stupid thing they had happening is totally disrespectful to Superman as a character that was created in comic lore. You know, and if you have that ideology to do what he did, then it must be a comic book, a writer's comic book. But it's not a comic book; it's a movie. You know, make a good film, bro. Make it to where it makes sense for the comic book character that you're making it about. Um, Mr. Terrific was great. I wish they would have done something on Mr. Terrific. He was that good, man. That was some dope stuff he did. Lex was Lex was medieval. Like he was overboard. Lex was he was just overboard, like a mad kid in there, just pissed off, and doing over the top stuff. Not that it was bad. It was just he was a bad character, a very deadly character. But I think Mister Terrific may have stole it from me. Guy Gardner. I just wished he got thumped by Superman. You can't tell him a Green Lantern can't beat Superman. That's how he acted in this movie. Like he was the dopest thing possible because he was a Green Lantern. Even to where in the clip he got in Superman's face. What you gonna do, Big Blue? Dude, thump him. Thump him, because everybody and their mama know that's all it takes to a Green Lantern. Just thump him. He has they can't handle Superman. And for him to even think he could talk smack was the director's stupidity. There's no Green Lantern that's gonna sit there and talk smack to Superman. They know better. Hell, what Batman? You know what I'm saying? Wonder Woman will talk smack. Shoot, but not no damn Green Lantern. And this fool just, I didn't like his character. I didn't like Guy Gardner at all. He just thought he was too tight. Now they had him thinking he was, woo. So I didn't like him, but it wasn't a not to like the movie, mind you. Not liking him or not liking the character don't mean I don't like the movie. That has nothing to do with me not liking the movie. I'm talking about characters and telling you how good they were as far as how they were portrayed. Hawk Girl was kind of meaningless. That Justice Gang, they're off the hook though. They are off the hook. So and I don't know why their names is Justice Gang. That just sounded dumb. What else? Of course, it was just too much James Gunn in it. That's all, really. And the dog being his dog. It's not the lab. We already know. Crypto is very intelligent. This dog was just so undisciplined. He had no intelligence. So it really took away from even having him in a movie. And it was just like, this is hard to say. Because he didn't wear on me as bad. But if you know Crypto or know anything about, he doesn't act like that. So therefore, it throws the movie completely into a different direction with his behavior being that way, right? He's a lab. He's pretty smart. He's smarter than most all the dogs, right? So he's very smart, and he wouldn't be behaving that way. And even if you do have him have bad behavior, when it's time for action, the stuff that was jumping off shouldn't have jumped off. He should have been right in line. But it tells us it's a totally different direction. People keep talking about, and this is people keep talking about hope. I thought the film would bring hope. What the hell does that mean? What do you mean a film bring hope of what? Bring hope to what? I'm just like, they ran away with the terminology and phraseology, and they keep using it. Even reactors are using that in their reaction. There's nothing to hope for in there. It's just to hope that the film will be good. That he would do Superman justice, and he didn't. It's about the character. It's about the character that someone created in a comic book form, and you're putting them on film, and you want to do them justice. You don't want to do what you did to Wolverine. And other characters you just totally just didn't do right. Every Batman movie, they know the assignment. He's stoic, he's dark, he's serious as hell. You know what I mean? It's like one Batman. Every time it's one Batman. Oh, you can create different Batmobiles all you want, but it's one Batman. Superman, oh, he was too serious. Well, they have Injustice. You do know that, right? There's times when he can get a little dark. Oh, and mind you, that was Warner Brothers wanting to do that. James Gunn's gonna create a hopeful and brightful. This is comic booky. Like, why are you got? You can't. You can. Why does he have to be so many different things? Why can't he just be Superman? Stoic, heroic, pretty serious, highly intelligent. Which this Superman isn't highly intelligent. It's funny because it's so contradictive of what his knowledge actually is versus you're wondering how did he get the knowledge. You know, there's so many gaps left open because you clearly see if you know Superman, you clearly know how he has so much knowledge. You know why, and when you find out what he was actually supposed to know versus what he knows, where they drop hints throughout the movie, you're looking like, how did he figure all that out? How does he know that? You know, when we know the origin of most of his knowledge, right? So, with that being said, that is a good 3.5, 4-star movie out of 10. Um, it's not watchable again. I can't watch that again. It ain't one of those, and it's not so good to where I don't want to watch it. It's not. I'm not able to watch that again. I can watch most Superman movies over again, you know, because there's things about it that's really good. Even Snyder's was. I was totally thrown off by Snyder. Like, this fool's actually letting people die, you know. So I get that. I get the whole difference in the Snyder movie, but it was still watchable. I can watch it again because everything was very nice about it, very pleasing to the. I don't care how people can go to hell with all the dark stuff. Oh, it was so dark. I don't want to emo and all this stuff. Like, man, it's cool. It's cool because he didn't. For me, it's cool because he didn't damage the character much. This one, he just put too much of himself. The director put too much of his own personal stuff into it, in which that's what ruined it. If he'd have left it alone and had things, he could have chopped in the scenes the way he still chopped it in with no background. I think this had to do with cuts because there's a lot of stuff where it's just like, what? How do we get here? So I think if he'd have left it that way, to where he didn't have his own personal input into it, it'd have been okay. It'd have been okay, Phil. It'd have been a fine Superman movie because we know all Superman movies aren't perfect. They can't do it because forget we just saw Thunderbolts in Century, and he just handled the Thunderbolts like it was a thing to do, and displayed all his powers in one fight scene to where you knew we can't mess with this cat. Oh, Lord forbid you do that with Superman. It'll be boring. It'll be this. Well, you know what? He's Superman. Blame the people who created the comic. And everybody out there thinking, oh, well, Superman died in Doomsday. That was one of the dumbest ideas. And when it came out, if you were living, you know it was a dumb idea to kill Superman in that comic book. They bought the comic book because they just wanted to see how he died. It wasn't even part of canon like that where everybody expected it. It came out of nowhere. And everybody that was living there knew that was one of the dumbest things that we've ever heard of. And when people told us what happened, we even thought it was stupider. So, and they keep throwing Doomsday and everything, right? Like, because it sold so much, because it was the ideology of Superman dying. That's why they wanted to see. They were curious, is why you sold a lot of those comics. But it wasn't a cool thing. Like, some of the stuff ain't cool, you know. It's just this wasn't cool. So let's get into some spoilers. I'm gonna be all over the place with the spoilers. I already spoiled a little bit of this scene. And I'm gonna just tell you why. He was dropped off at night as a distract Superman so they can go to the Fortress of Solitude. And he was about 1 foot tall. He was barely bigger than that dog. And the next day, his foot was coming down, and Superman was flying under it. And they panned out to see the scene, and there was nothing. Not a building was torn up. So that was awful mistake number one. Like, how did he not disturb nothing? in out there. Secondly, the Justice Gang comes through in this same scene. The Justice Gang comes through. They're trying to kill the thing, and Superman's like, "Yo, I'm trying to save him so I can study him." That's very Superman. Let's study him and see what it's got. Very Superman. But Justice League going ahead and kill him, right? So the monster goes to fall. Superman goes to catch the monster, so he doesn't damage anything, and it's a soft fall, right? Why, when Superman gets him down to the ground, he smashes Superman underneath him, and Superman comes out crawling from underneath him. Funny. It's like, that's why are we having that comedy in there? What's wrong with Superman catching the monster and picking him up and flying off? Scene. Why does he bring him to the ground and gets flattened by the monster? So it's a funny moment of him trying to crawl from under. It's so disrespectful to the character. It's like too much humor. It's like, no, bro, that's not. Superman don't even move like that. The one thing you had right was him talking about studying the animal for research. The second mistake you made is for him to allow the Justice Gang to actually kill him. He would have started to fight them and stopped them from killing them. So as the monsters try to destroy the city, which he didn't destroy, he ain't touched nothing. It was weird. He wasn't destroying nothing. He was just in there screaming. As he's doing that, he would have been trying to stop the monster and start trying to stop Mr. Terrific from throwing the thing in his throat and blowing up his stomach. That's how you do that scene. Secondly, in the same scene, all the people around are just standing there watching, right? And Superman even saves a squirrel in this scene. A squirrel. He picks up a squirrel and just some of the dumbest stuff. A squirrel. And then when he goes to save the girl, the clip we saw, he's saving the girl when he jumps behind her. It's in this scene. It's literally in this scene. So mind you, you have a big monster here. And he takes a step and the girl's just casually walking away from him. We cannot let this stuff go by. She's casually walking. Mind you, this thing, they've been fighting this thing. This didn't happen out the blue. This thing is there and people are sitting there looking. She's turning around and walking away. Not running away, walking away like she's walking across the street. And he comes to save her like it's a car about to hit her because the thing took a step. The thing is literally feet away from her. That's bad. I don't care if you like this movie or not. You thought it was the greatest movie ever. You have to see the stupidity in that. That's a stage scene. It was just like, drop it here, start, go. Okay, now let's do this. Oh, let's have this happen. Nothing's flowing to where it would explain why the girl is even walking, why everybody's not even running. They're just standing there watching. And nothing in the scene is disturbed. Not a building torn. The most damage that was done in this scene was those pipes getting stepped on and Superman getting pushed into the ground. In the windows, I think, being cracked when Superman was holding the dinosaur. He punched him and was holding him from falling into a building. And Superman caught him and then he kind of cracked the glass. That was like it. And let's get to one of the hugest errors. This whole time, Superman's getting beat up and thrown all over the place. Lex is actually playing Street Fighter with him. Everyone's like, Street Fighter? Okay, let's go Mortal Kombat. Why are we saying Mortal Kombat? This is something people aren't talking about. This fool was in his tower with a crew of people shouting out combination moves for the dumb Ultron, mind you, mindless dumb Ultron, to receive and do the move as if he's playing a video game. As if he's playing a video, and I kid you not, LQ3. And he's not saying it out loud. He's actually running to the 6 dudes or 7 dudes that's sitting in front of computer terminals. And he's running. They had a whole well-oiled machine. So he's running to them and L432. And he's looking at the move. And then Lex is, I'm so smart. I can predict what Superman, because they explained it. Oh, yeah, he's predicting what he's been studying for so long. He can predict his moves before he does them. So he's running to each terminal, and I know some dummy out there saying, that's hecka smart. No, that's stupid. Why is it stupid? It's the relay system is what the problem is. Him running to this guy to tell him in the middle of a fight, mind you, they're fighting. L432. Then you put it in, and then the dude starts to move, and he still whoops Superman. So basically, they were whooping Superman, predicting what his movements were. Dang near beat him to death, predicting his movements off of Lex in a tower, relaying everything. Now you'll have someone say, "Well, hell, that makes a lot of sense." You got two superpowered entities fighting. This is why it's dumb. Why are they moving that slow? Why is Superman moving that slow? They're not moving. He didn't show no instance where they were moving it fast enough for those relays not to work. And he would have been moving, both of them would have been moving very fast for those relays not to even work. Well, I don't, that still could work. Well, what happened to Superman's hearing throughout the whole movie? He couldn't hear the directions being tossed around and know that, okay, he's being told what to do. Let me speed up so he can't get the direction for what to do next. You can hear the direction, hit him as the direction, just change up what you're doing. See, that's called countering. Not being done. Super hearing's turned off. Right? I-beams turned off. Dude grabs him by the neck in the air. Don't hit him with no I-beams. Just turned off. There's some horrible errors. It's not about how to win the fight. It's how you're doing the fight is what the problem is. Let that man not be mindless. Let Ultraman be Ultraman and let him fight Superman and whoop Superman on his own. That's the whole thing. Why is Lex playing video games, basically calling out counters, or moves to do to beat Superman? Soon as this stops, how does it stop? Well, how did Superman get the advantage over him? He called Krypto, and this is going to be even funnier, to crush the cameras, because there's cameras the whole time around the fight at every angle. There's cameras around recording it as they're fighting. This is the stupidity in this. So he calls Krypto over to bite the cameras. And the whole time Krypto's biting the camera, this is towards the end, biting cameras. Where's your I-beam, bro? Why didn't you kill the cameras before? I can't. I got prepared. I have backup. And he does the dumb whistle for the dog, and the dog comes to. This is what's making the movie bad. Because there's no rhyme or reason for this stupidity. And he bites all the cameras, and then Superman ragdolls the man. He ragdolls him. I mean, he beat the snot out of him in like seconds. And it's like, are you kidding me? You couldn't do that to him before? He ain't lost no strength. He just didn't have the counters, or he didn't know what moves to do to you unless Lex programmed him to do the moves. And he's actually shouting the commands and they're typing it in or whatever. And this whole time you're fighting him at the end of the movie, you're talking to Lex through the fucking speaker and cameras as this dude is pummeling you. It's some of the... Oh, it was horrific. That they're so egregious it's not even funny. Here's the last one. That was pretty bad. That it was still cool to have Supergirl come in. Then the dog come and pounce her, and he start, and the dog and her play hard, so he's slamming her on the ground, and she's laughing. The ground's cracking, and she's laughing. Everyone's like, "Oh, I wonder that's where he gets the bad behavior from, right?" And she leaves, calls him a bi when she leaves, and he's all, "Oh yeah, she likes to go to planets where there's red suns, so that way she's able to drink to get intoxicated, because of course she came in there drunk." And it's just like, so you end the movie with some stupidity, right? People were like, why is that stupid that he said, oh, she goes to red planets with red suns, that way she can get drunk, because the yellow sun doesn't allow us to get intoxicated when we drink, because she's on Earth. That's why it's stupid. So why is she still drunk? The sun, that's the yellow sun literally should have sobered her up by the time she got down to the Fortress of Solitude. She came in there skunk drunk. So you have no red sun exposure at this point. So therefore, your intoxication should have worn off. See what I'm saying? Just clear errors. So there was no need. It was just trying to be funny. She should have came in there normal, because that line, someone should have told him that don't work. That's dumb. That doesn't work. You're not gonna still be intoxicated if you don't have the red sun effect on you. It's like kryptonite's not being there, and you're talking about the only how I get weak is with kryptonite's there, is on me. Then you go fly across the galaxy away from kryptonite, and you still weak from kryptonite. That's basically what it's saying. The red sun and the alcohol that was in the alcohol that was in there still has an effect from you flying over to the yellow sun and being exposed to the yellow sun. And we already know Superman, even in this movie, exposed to kryptonite, needed some sunlight. So when he got enough sunlight, the effects of the kryptonite was countered. So how's the effects of the alcohol not countered in the yellow sun? What type of alcohol was she drinking to make her in the yellow sun and still be intoxicated? See, that's what they're trying to pull the wool over. But you got to remember, where did she fly from? And I'm sure it was far away. She came from somewhere far away. And so basically, before you even get to Earth, you're still hitting the sun. You're absorbing rays from the sun. Yeah, just real dumb stuff, man. That made the like I said, Mr. Terrific was dope. There was a lot of good other scenes in here. Not a whole bunch, but just the stupidity was just. I mean, the scene where everybody talked about the suit with the fight going on out there. I'm gonna get to his intelligence now. And they had the fight going on out there. They were like, he flies in from the freight that's going on out there, and he's depressed and stuff, right? And then he's talking to Lois. So this stuff is going on. He said, well, no. She's looking like, aren't you going to help, basically? He's all they can handle. It's just a nymph from another dimension. They got it under control. And he carries on that conversation with her like there's nothing going on out there. So basically, we're assuming, because they didn't show any of this. They just showed him coming in from the window in that scene. We're assuming that he was out there helping, and he got just so, oh, man, let me just go home. Y'all got it? Yeah, we got it. Let me go home. That's the attitude he had. It wasn't like it was egregious. It was just like, this is mind blowing. And, Lois is talking to him, but she's still looking outside and there's a whole thing going on. Mind you, the nymphs out there, nothing's disturbed. Buildings aren't crashing, nothing. So it's just a clean fight scene. In the air, no cops, helicopters trying to patrol the area to see what the heck's going on. Just them fighting. And it's like, how did he know what that was? So let's go back now. Why did everyone turn against Lex? Because Lex broke into the fortress, like I said earlier. He broke into the fortress because he had a strand of hair from Superman. How did he do that? Right? Because they said in the movie, all kryptonite was gone. So where did he get the strand of his hair? His hair can hold a 1-ton ball. So that means Superman shaves himself like this. We see it in Man of Steel. That's how he shaves. He can only cut his own hair. Now, you're saying, did he get it in a fight earlier in the movie? 3 years earlier? We don't know. And that's the crazy thing about it. Bro, show us when you got the hair. You exposed him to kryptonite. You could, but you already had Ultraman in the movie. You never showed how you got his hair. That doesn't explain we got your hair strand. Because how did you get Superman's hair? That's the thing. How did you get it? You had to weaken him with kryptonite and get it. You couldn't have just pulled it out his head. By no means. You didn't have the arsenal. You didn't show us him fighting Ultraman before this. The Baratheon thing, Ultraman, which is Ultraman in the Iron Man, in the iron suit, the Juggernaut suit. So you didn't show no instance where you got it. So you had a clone for you to get in the fortress, which was Ultraman. Okay, let's back up. I'm sorry, let's back up. To get in the fortress, any Superman, anyone that knows anything about Superman, he has a key. It doesn't open on DNA. It's a key. And if anybody knows Superman knows how much that key weighs. the mass, the weight is of a star, and Superman can pick that thing up with one hand. So it actually tells you how strong he is. Stick to the source material, and you won't go awry. If you start entering your own personal life stuff, history, and your dogs, this is where you screw up badly. There's things you can improve on, and there's things you can be like, we don't need that. But the key is one thing that always reminds you how strong he actually is. And if you don't like that, then don't do the movie. If you're so worried about how people are going to react to him being that way, don't do the movie. Hey, matter of fact, tell them to go watch Thunderbolts and see someone that looks invincible. And what does that look like? It was jaw-dropping to see that. It was jaw-dropping to see how he was handling them. It wasn't like, oh, this sucks. No, it was like, dang, oh my God, what are they going to do? You know? So, he has a key that sits outside the fortress. If you're able to pick it up, you're able to get in the fortress. That was not a fortress. That wasn't a fortress of solitude. Why? Because the message that his parents gave you was half a message. And he was, so it's like half a message. Oh, be good to the world, da da da. So Lex goes in there. Here's what's really dumb. Goes in there. Break into the computer. And she's, the girl's breaking into it, with the nanos. And she's like, oh, there's more to the message, but it's corrupted. So she gets the whole message. And then they turn around and they said they translated the message. Oh, the world translators and all this translate the message. This is what it says. I almost lost my mind. How do they translate some language they never heard of? And they did it in basically overnight. It's like, that's impossible. How did you even do that? So now the message was basically, now let's rip from Invincible. And let's rip from the ideology of the Viltrumites. And let's put that into this movie. So now his parents are giving him a Viltrumite. Basically, hey, seed the whole planet up, so that way you could take over and rebuild Krypton. Just the dumb stuff right there, man. Just the dumb stuff. And people actually walked out of that movie on some of these early releases and like, this is one he knew the assignment. Like, that was you're reacting that way because you don't want to lose your early privilege to movies from Warner Brothers. That's why you're doing that. Be honest. Be honest. That wasn't cool. That was dumb. That was absolutely dumb. And how does Superman even know what most of the stuff is now? He's telling us about later on in the movie when his parents' message was only be good to the world. And we know his dad told him all about the known universe. He educated him. Superman is actually brilliant beyond imagination. Why? Because he knows about all the known universe through Kryptonian knowledge. He's not as stupid as humans. He's not. He's just not. I know they won't. And mind you, this has nothing to do with the movie. They make him dumb in a lot of instances. Even in the comics, actually, I take that back. Comics, they actually make him smart, but some of them they won't. But in cartoons, and then of course most movies, he's stupid. He's not as intelligent as he should be. He's super intelligent. Okay. And I know people are going to be like, well, that's just not, he can actually not know. No, hold on. Because we know Flash is super intelligent, right? And you're wondering, well, how's Flash super intelligent? You have to remember this. Speedsters or anyone that moves fast, brain moves just as fast or faster. Why is that? How does that have anything to do with knowledge? Because just moving at super speeds, you have to see and react. So it means that's how you know your brain is faster. If you're moving at the speed of light, your brain is moving faster than that because you have to move. You have to step over things. You're not running in clear paths. There's speed bumps literally in the ground. There's water hydrants there. There's poles, wires. You gotta be able to move out the way of all these things. That's just a basic knowledge of a speedster. So Superman is a speedster. So if he's moving that fast, why isn't his brain moving fast? Now we're bringing home the whole movie and all the atrocities. The fight scene now makes sense, right? Now you get why the fight scene was dumb. Because there's no way Lex would be able to holler commands and they put him in and this thing be able to operate the commands without Superman outthinking him. Because he's a speedster. This is the whole why the movie he ruined the movie just by doing that alone. And no one has talked about that. So we go back to the fortress. His parents don't educate him. There's no education information. There's nothing told to us that's happening. It tells us their message is corrupted and the message is barely 5 minutes. So we got a dumb Superman who don't know nothing, but he knows about nymphs from other dimensions. He knows about, it's like, how do you know that and you didn't get the knowledge nowhere? You're saying, or Mr. Magnificent knew more about this stuff than he did. Just a dumb oath. First and foremost, a dumb oath. And that's another criminal charge against him. So yeah, he gets there and they corrupt the message. They figure out the message, and that's how everyone turns against Superman. Because they tell the message, and he's looking like, I didn't know they said that because the message was corrupted. So his Fortress of Solitude isn't a fortress. It was just a room. It looked like a little room. They walk around the corner, and there's the little layout. And he's just sitting. They keep putting him in the chair. He's play his parents, footage of his parents that helps him put him at ease at the end, and they're playing. Oh God, his parents. Oh my, the countryest bumpkins. Oh my goodness, Martha was country, hicked out. I was like, what is going on, boy? Old sows, just old. I'm like, this is crazy. Why are they so broke down old? Like, you know what I mean? The daddy was just like, like a big oaf. Like a big oaf. Sad, and like when he got beat up, just all depressed and stuff. I'm like, ain't he supposed to be dead? Jonathan Kent's supposed to be dead. What he doing around? Man, it was like some old hillbillies picked him up and took care of him. That's how country bunking they was. Yeah, they talking about you up on the box. I'm like, man, if you don't get these people up out of here, man, get the real Clint Kents up in here. It was a piece of work. What he did, what James Gunn did, was a piece of work. It was just like, bro, you didn't focus on nothing but trying to get your agenda out about what you wanted to imprint on the movie versus actually make the movie surrounding the character. Only thing I did like, he was Superman most of the time. He wasn't Clark a whole bunch of times. But boy, I tell you, some of the horrible, awful mistakes and just egregious mistakes, not even mistakes, just I don't cares in there was just bad. Like, it was bad, and the suit was bad too. The suit, I mean, I didn't even realize how bad it looked. Even when they did the opening scene, you could see the bagginess and everything, the pants. I was like, that looks awful. He looks awful. He flies away in the beginning. When he flies away from the fortress, the girl, whatever the hell she was, the Nano Knight girl, was out there chasing him. And he flies right over her head. It's like, dude, you didn't see her? It was like, oh my goodness. Some of the stuff, it was just like, and that's how they found it. That's how they knew where the fortress was. That's because she trailed him after he tried to fly home from getting beat by Ultraman the first time with the Bolivian whatever hammer, because Lex is doing Mortal Kombat moves on him. People are not talking about that. If you go see the movie and you don't mind this spoiler, actually put in perspective what's being done. This dude is playing a video game and beating Superman up about basically playing a video game, because the Ultraman is mindless, basically. He's basically mindless, because he's being programmed with everything he has to do. So it's just because you could see it in the end, once the cameras were destroyed and Lex couldn't tell him commands, Superman mopped him up bad too, beat the brakes off of him. And it's like, are you kidding me? Lex, all that stuff you were saying actually had this dude being able to whoop Superman? Like, come on, man. Dude, no one was moving fast. He didn't show super speed at all. He didn't show no super speed. So therefore, I don't know what James Gunn was trying to pull off. I just watched reactions to just Thunderbolts and just looking at Sentry. I was just like, that's incredible. We should have saw some of that with Superman. He turns himself in. He allows himself to get face planted like that. I came in willingly. I came in willingly. Oh, his face in the dirt. Like, bro, come on, man. Like, why are you doing that? Man, no, Superman wouldn't have let that junk happen. Like, he wouldn't have let that junk happen. He wouldn't have turned himself over to no Lex. Like, come on, man. Lex wouldn't have been by his side on that one. He'd have been like, oh, heck no. Lex got something to do with this. I'm not doing that. That's dumb. I'm going to try to clear my name some other way. I'm going to look into this. Lois will be looking into it and find out how she found out about what was going on and publicated that. And then Superman would have went after Lex. Man, let that man put him in that tube in that void. That void pit was cool. He had a gang of people locked up in there. And Lex, he was ruthless, man. Ruthless. But yeah, this wasn't a spoiler really. It was just me telling you about all the atrocities. And if you find out any more atrocities that were done in this, and mind you, I'm not talking about the stuff that was cool. I'm talking about the stuff where it was just like glaringly like, this is not cool. Why did you do that? Like that was dumb. That was dumb. Like, put them in here. Let me know if I go over any. And I talked about this ad nauseum last night. I should have just did a podcast talking about this with a group of my friends, and we was just going in about all the stuff. So I saw the movie Friday. So I don't even know what today is. Oh, today's Saturday. So yeah, this is a whole day later. I wanted to drop this yesterday. It was more organized than yesterday. This is going to be long. I don't care if anybody watches it or not at this point. But I know folks that are who really subscribe to me and really watch me. All the subscribers that watch me will be the ones that watch it, and those who love Superman and love the movie probably turn it off. But listen. I said it was good, and I said it was bad at the same time. I did go spend my money because of my son to watch it. I will never tell no one not to go watch it because who you like is who you like, and what you like is what you like. This is more geared towards folks who are a little analytical like that, who look into things like that, who actually pay attention to stuff like that, and say, okay, those are mistakes. Don't tell me to pick up a comic book because you clearly don't know how old I am. Please don't tell me to pick up a comic book. I would implore you to tell me to find a comic book store today. We had them. We had comic book stores. We had in bookstores. We had a gang of comics in there. I've sat in hours in comic book stores just to wait to go to the movies because my brother's he's the biggest comic book head I know. And we were forced to read comic books because waiting on him to pick a comic book to buy. So he's basically reading all the comics in there, the newest stuff that came out, to see which one he's going to get. So we had to sit there and randomly pick up comic books and read them. I'm reading about Spawn before I even knew it was a movie. Anything about it. You know what I'm saying? Because why? Waiting on him. We on our way to the movies. We always drop off at the comic book store. Coming back from the movies. Guess where we go? Comic book store. At least hour or two. So I was almost forced to read comic books. So I picked up plenty. Yeah, so don't bother with the comments of the cliche. It's called a cliche. Pick up a comic book. I can go to other people's page and someone is saying that stupid stuff. You guys are idiots who are saying that because no one will be talking about a comic book movie if they had never read a comic book. You do know it's interpretation, right? When people are talking about it, it's what they perceive the character to be as they digest the character, either through comics, cartoon, whatever. They have an interest. It means they didn't read the comic you read when Superman was laughing all day. They probably didn't read that comic. So you can draw from where you can say that. But we're talking about theater in a movie to where we compile a consensus ideology about a character and we say, okay, he's pretty much this way is what people are talking about. So as like I pointed out, the key of the Fortress of Solitude is consistent. It's not where they just all of a sudden said it for one comic and then I'll draw from that. His strength spec is consistent. Then we're not talking about time he was on this and this can't. No, we're talking about overall consistency. This is how the movie should have been made. You don't pick on little things where it was small, minute instances of writers writing this way about them. Overall, super strong, right? Only thing can weaken them, kryptonite. Keep it basic. Super hearing, heat vision, fast as the speed of light, impervious to impervious to everything except for kryptonite, and that's how you can penetrate them. Be that. Be that. Again, Sentry. Get close to what they did with Sentry with Superman, and you can do whatever you want. You can have him dressed however you want. Make him like they made Sentry to his spec level. Not, oh, I made him weak on purpose. Stop doing that. There's no need to make him weak on purpose. You can bring in characters who's up there with Superman to have him combat Superman. You know, you don't gotta make him weaker. You don't gotta make him more emotional. It's okay. Christopher Reeves was emotional when Lois died. There's instances where you can get him emotional. Oh boy, you had the man speaking in third person, you know, and then had the girl check him for it, and then he kind of, oh man, I'm like, man, stand on that. That's right. Superman, he actually should have went a little evil Superman in this a little bit on some of this stuff, especially when he's talking to Lois. He should have been like, you know, 10 toes down on it. You dang right, Superman I don't do social media. Superman don't do social media. You know what I'm saying? I'm too big for that. You know? Oh, you know I don't like that name. And then coming around, there's monkeys calling him that name. And then he turns around and is like, oh, and he says the dumb name that they gave him to the monkeys. This is another instance in the void. There's literally monkeys out there tweeting, and it's symbolic, we know, but it was just he didn't let that sit to where we could say, oh, it's symbolic of how cats are online. But he turns around and has Superman says the dumb name that they gave him, and he's like, oh, you said that. Like, you know, it's like, dude, let it go. Like this, he see it, and he's like, okay, this fool got apes out here. And I get the symbolism in it, but in the movie, how did it? It was everyone's always like the comics. Yeah, dude, that was too much comics right there. You still made a movie, bro. Too much comics. I would have had people kidnapped, had them plugged in, and making those comments. Half the world's influencers I have here, you know, and have the most like, oh snap, the influencers. He's planning on influencers. They're programmed to do this. That makes a lot of sense, and I get he's calling people. But, you know, it was too comic booky with the monkeys, and then Superman doing that was you can't do that with Superman. That's like making Sentry comical. It's like, how are we going to do that when he's insane? And what's going to be funny? You're now going to be playing on. Not insane. He's not insane, but he has the void in there. Like it's, you know, it just doesn't work for Superman. It's all. Spider-Man all day. Didn't work for Superman. Yeah, but with that being said, like and subscribe. Don't get too butthurt that I killed. It seemed like I killed the movie or James Gunn. I don't have no ill will towards no James Gunn at all, and I don't have no great will towards Zack Snyder. I think they do their thug thizzles when they do it. When they don't do it, they create a bad movie. They just create a bad movie. You know what I'm saying? This one he messed up because he just put too much of his stuff in there. That's all he did. He just did this could have been actually really good if he didn't do all that other stuff. So don't. I'm just gonna be honest about movies I like or don't like, and this is one where it was just, yeah. This scene behind us, that wasn't that. Outside of the joysticks and playing Mortal Kombat, those two things were just not well thought out. All that stuff behind us should have been collapsed and torn up. The thing was that big. His tail, he actually had a tail How's he turning around and his tail not knocking over buildings? Nothing was damaged in that scene. It wasn't damaged when they showed it. The only thing damaged when it left was the window being cracked and those pipes being stepped on wherever that was when the girl was just casually walking, and as if the thing wasn't there and it just appeared. You would think the thing just appeared and his foot stepped down and she didn't notice it, but he was already there and everybody's standing looking. Like, what's going on? I'm out.